Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I am so excited to have this conversation today with a woman that I have had the pleasure of knowing for quite some time. Deanna Nunez is a speaker and a trainer, and she delivers breakthrough hypnosis strategies. So we are going to be talking a lot about hypnosis today, the benefits of that, the tools around that, and what that can really do for people. We will also be talking about the fact that Deanna has been an entrepreneur her entire life. A lot of our guests, we kind of focus on, hey, I had this corporate thing for a while, and then I decided I didn't want to do it anymore, and then I leaned out and did my own thing. Not Deanna. She has been a rebel, a rule breaker her entire career, which is awesome. She is known as one of America's best applied learning speakers. She's conducted more than 1,000 presentations, serving over 500,000 people. She has contracted with all kinds of companies and entities, including the U.S. Marines, both here in America and in Asia. And she's been doing that for over 20 years. And she's also been doing some of her work on Norwegian, I should be able to say that word because I'm part Norwegian, so good Lord, cruise lines, speaking internationally in 23 countries. So welcome to the show today, Deanna.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, take us on this journey. Tell us, about your life and about your path.
Wow, I thank you so much, first of all, for having me on. And yeah, it is Norwegian. Yet you're a beautiful Norwegian, by the way.
Thank you.
It's been a really fun. Listening to the bio is interesting because it all sounds so ideal and perfect. And as you were reading it, I was kind of laughing to myself of just all of the twists and turns that have happened in all of those high achieving moments. There's the opposite of that as well. So. I first started with the U.S. Marines in 1999. It's my very first paid contract as a hypnotist. And my very first, right out the gate was, right with the Marine Corps. And so I went in with the Marines with the intent to use hypnosis as both entertainment and, I love this word, edutainment. Because there's always teaching points throughout the presentation, whether it is just a fun entertainment show. There's always these teaching points about really being able to tap into the power of your mind and honestly focus it. That's I think the biggest thing that you can take away from one of my presentations is just how important it is to stay focused. And for me, I have an ADHD brain, and so I'm all over the place. And honestly, that's what brought me to hypnosis and my love for it. I realized it was a tool that was going to be really beneficial for me. And when I started utilizing it in my life to help me get somewhere, I was able to make some really big changes. And I came from a really, I think, a pretty dysfunctional family. My family might disagree, but we came from kind of a dysfunctional family. And so I just, I felt messed up when I was in my younger years. I wasn't one of those kids. I love that you made rebelliousness sound so great.
I mean, it is great, darn it.
Because I was that for sure. And you said in business for 20 years, it's more of like my whole life has been rebellious. But I think that when I found hypnosis, I was looking for something to help me get focused, to help me, get all of these moving parts, like moving in the same direction and get me somewhere. And when I first found hypnosis, I was a single mom. I had a young son, and I wanted us to be successful. I wanted us, and it was never just about me. It was like, how am I going to do this with him, and how do I raise a successful kid? Because I didn't, I didn't have that modeled for me necessarily. And so it's like, you kind of feel like you're all on your own of how you're going to figure that out. And so I was looking for tools, and so I found hypnosis. And then fast forward to, you know, getting that first contract with the U.S. Marines, it was a really big deal to me, like, to get paid, you know. And
okay, wait. I gotta pause though. Wait, we gotta go back. Sorry, there's a few things I gotta go back to here. Okay, so my two questions are, where were you born and raised? And my second question is, you keep talking about you found hypnosis, but how? And how did you train yourself or get trained? Or so if you'd answer those two, please.
Yeah, so I'm from San Diego, California, born and raised. Love it here, and still here. So then the way that I came into hypnosis is just completely, you know, by accident, but not by accident. I was, like I said, I was a single mom, and my friend said, okay, time for you to get out and start dating again. And my friend had somebody she wanted to set me up with. And you know how we all kind of roll our eyes like, all right, yeah, you set me up. Yeah. And I said, okay, tell me about him. Fine. She's like, you got to meet him. And she described a short, balding, hairy man, which I was like, really?
She's not selling it.
Well, you know, and to all those short, bald, hairy men that might be listening, we love you. But the thing that really caught my attention was her last description was, he's really funny. And who doesn't love really, you know, to be around funny, humorous, lighthearted people? And so I said, okay, I'll meet this guy. So he was a hypnotist. Long story short, he was a hypnotist. So that's where I even learned about hypnosis, like what it is. And it was very rudimentary. I mean, he had a comedy hypnosis show at Magic Mountain, and I got in his show the day that I met him, and he turned me into Madonna, and we ended up dating for 2 years. So some people say, like, oh, did he hypnotize you? And perhaps he did.
Oh my goodness.
You know, it wasn't meant to be a long-term relationship, but I do feel like it was absolutely supposed to be in my life, because what I took away from that was, I saw the power of it. And I saw the power demonstrated. You know, a lot of us, we have a lot of knowledge, but we're not necessarily implementing our knowledge. And when we can see demonstrations, and that's what I bring to the table in my presentations, is like, I demonstrate hypnosis, and people experience it. And so it's very visceral and real, and they feel like something happens, you know? So it's like, you can walk away having really implemented information because you felt it happen. So for me, when I learned about hypnosis, you know, originally through this first boyfriend that introduced it to me, when I left that relationship, I was just enamored by the power of it beyond entertainment. And I think it's great. I honestly, like, a lot of people have seen a lot of, you know, when I talk to people, they go, oh, I saw a show at my college, or, you know, they came to my grad night and did a show. I got hypnotized in my grad night. I hear that a lot when I'm talking to people. But I would invite people to look beyond the entertainment, because it honestly is very similar. The process is the same, even though the outcome and the point is different. Like, one, you're trying to, you know, produce a comedic result. But the other, you can just transfer that into, you're looking for a result in what you're breaking through, what you're letting go of. Because so many times when we're pushing in our business goals, there's going to be a lot of resistance that comes up of, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. I feel lost. Or because I haven't followed through before, means I can't do it now. Like, this is stuff in the back of their head that a lot of times businesswomen aren't talking about. Which you have done such a great job creating a community where people do feel safe and feel like they can, you know, come to the boardroom with sometimes some tears, you know, or like, okay, I just don't know what the hell I'm doing, you know, and they can be honest about that. So when it comes to hypnosis and getting all that started, it just was, to me, just such an amazing tool that I never thought would be in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and thank goodness it is. I mean, so I'm going to ask again all these two-part questions. So I know you know, obviously you do a ton of edutainment. But I know you also work with folks one-on-one as well to help them push through, let go, that type of thing. So I do want to get into that and some of the work you've done there. But before I get to that, talk about the people that are skeptical of hypnosis, right? I'm sure you've met, thousands where they're like, you can't hypnotize me. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, I would invite listeners to just consider that you are hypnotizing yourself with your own thought processes every single day. So in its very elementary form, like very low level understanding, when you're driving in your car, and here in San Diego, a lot of big cities, we have a lot of traffic, right? You're driving in your car and you're really not paying attention to the road. You're just off somewhere else thinking about, in dreamland, what you need to do, or you've got some marketing idea on your mind or whatever. That is where you are moving into an alpha state. And anytime that you're in that dreamy state, this is proven by science. Honestly, hypnosis is neuroscience. It is neuroscience in action, and it is powerful. You're doing it all the time on your own, and think about all the times where an idea popped into your mind, not when you were trying to figure it out, right? You sat down like trying to figure it out, but then later when you're in the shower or driving or walking down the street, whatever, is when it pops into your mind. That's your subconscious mind doing its amazing, powerful work. Our imagination has to be a part of those processes, especially for us we're marketing ourselves, coming up with new ways to present ourselves and interact to reach our clients. And that's all imagination. We need creativity for that. And so when you're in that hypnosis state, you're going in and out of it all the time on your own. So for me as a professional, my job is to create that state and with a goal in mind. And so people come to me for a specific reason. This is what I want to work on. I create that state and walk them through it with a specific goal in mind, and then we have that breakthrough. So you'll have breakthroughs on your own, but I facilitate the breakthrough. So, sometimes when we have breakthroughs on our own, they don't happen when we want them to happen. They happen 10 years later.
True. Yes.
So what I can do is speed up that process for you.
Absolutely. I love it.
The other thing I would add on to that, not to interrupt, but I want to just make sure we talk about this. Hypnosis has been studied by some of our best universities. Harvard has done studies, Stanford has done studies. When you go onto Google Scholar, there are over 290,000 papers on hypnosis and its legitimacy. So it's being used in hospitals. Mayo Clinic uses it. They have trained hypnotherapists on staff to work with people in pain control, for stress management, for weight loss, for smoking cessation. So it's really being taken seriously. And I don't know why for so long hypnosis has had sort of a weird stigma, and it's definitely, I guess it comes from the hypnosis shows, of like making people do silly things. But it is so powerful. So I don't want people to miss out on that, because it can be such a fast and effective tool. A lot of psychologists and psychiatrists are using it in the psychology area to be trained as a hypnotist. They really are two totally different things. And so hypnosis is a tool that a psychologist would use. So it's very legitimate across the board.
Yeah. And I've been lucky enough to witness you work, and even just recently you gave a presentation at Startup Week here in San Diego, and in 5 minutes you had, less than 5 minutes, you took them through a 5-minute process, and within that they and I remember this one guy, kind of older gentleman, and he stood up. I don't know if he came and talked to you, and he was like, wow, I've never been able to be hypnotized, but she really did it. I know. Get that all the time.
I did talk to that guy. Yeah. I do get that all the time. And that's what I was sharing. It's like, it's a very experiential thing, and it's amazing. I saw a woman have a few tears go down her face at that Startup Week presentation. So you really can touch people. I'd like to share this. I can think of this one group, and it's for a company. I'll just say what it is. It's Alliance Healthcare Services, and they're the top vice president, CEO was there, their summit for their, top group. And they came from all over the planet to meet in Denver. And they brought me in to take them through a hypnosis process. And there's this one gentleman that I always have a picture in my mind, this vision of really, because we have to keep staying focused on what it is that we do for people so that we stay motivated in our business, right? And I think of him because through this hypnosis process, what I did is I took their company values, which is usually like on the last page of their website, right? And your mission, usually the mission's up front, but then our values are kind of buried somewhere, on our site. And we know that they're there. We spent time creating them, but then do we go back to them very often? Do we really make them, do we internalize them and live by them and run our business by them? Well, what I did is in my hypnosis process, which they didn't know that I was going to do, I took their values that they created and I put that into a hypnosis session. And so I had them internalize the values of the company. Because what the CEO wanted from me, before I go and do a presentation, I'm always make sure I take them through my 21 questions of my needs analysis of, so that I can show up to really deliver on what they're expecting. And so what he wanted them to do is he wanted his top execs to feel like entrepreneurs. He wanted them to own the company. If you own the company, what decisions will you make? That's the takeaway that he wanted. And so I wanted them to get really connected to why the company exists and what they stand on. And so having them internalize those values was very, very powerful and impactful. And so I saw a tear like run down the cheek. And these are executives that are always very, stern, and they keep their stuff together. They're very A-type personalities. They're very driven. And he came up to me afterward and he goes, I cannot believe how much that touched me, and that is going to make a person want to work hard. That's going to make a person want to get in there and spend the longer hours and really give more of themselves, to the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. I know you have also spent a lot of time supporting folks in their health journey as well. Do you mind touching on that and your health journey? And I don't know how much, I know when I met you.
It's my personal favorite.
Mind Body Fit Club. And so talk about all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm so thankful that I did meet you in Hera Hub because I've learned so much about business. I'm a really dreamer type personality, and I think that's also why I love hypnosis, because you can go be in another world really easily, and I love creating that for other people too. But you guys taught me a lot about what I need to do business, and so when I came to you with Mind Body Fit Club, that really started as a passion in my business where I could use hypnosis in other ways. And so I had come from a space of doing a lot of presentations when I met you. And I was looking for a way to get off the road. And because I have 3 kids and a husband, and I travel a lot. And so I was looking for a way to get off the road. And so Mind Body Fit Club naturally, and I think, I'm also all of us, we can get so enamored by, take your passion and monetize it, make it a thing. And so that's really what I was doing with Mind Body Fit Club, because for me, health and fitness is top priority. And just to give you kind of an example of how that fits into my family life, my grandmother lived to 103, and she started in Oklahoma, poor. She had mud floors and a grass roof. I mean, that's the way she described it. And she got out of Oklahoma and met my grandfather and moved to LA, and over their lifetime together created wealth. They became millionaires. And when I would go visit my grandmother, she was just always so gentle and gracious, and she used to jog every single morning. So if I was at her house, she would come up to me, she'd come wake me up, and she'd be jogging in place, sweating. And she did this all the way through her 90s. And it just seeded my mind. It made me think about what makes her want to do that. What is it that motivates her? Because nobody was telling her to do it, and then she wasn't following a fitness app or her watch, she wasn't in a group. She was just doing it, and it just, it always made such an impression on me. And her mother, my mother died at 78 of obesity and depression.
Wow.
And so it became very clear to me that it matters the choices that we make. Mm-hmm. And my mom had my grandmother's genes and died in early life. I felt like she also died with that music in her. I don't think she fully expressed herself. And I just felt like it's so sad. It's like, it's shame. It's, I don't want to live that kind of life. I don't want to feel like I left something on the table. I just want to go experience it all, which, takes focus. But when it comes to health and fitness, I just saw those examples and it made me want to really care about my health. And so I chased you for 13 miles a couple weeks ago.
Oh, come on, Deanna. You can run circles around me.
I did. I chased you down. I never caught up. But we were running the same pace a mile apart. That's why. It's funny.
I kind of cheated. I didn't go through the start line. You did.
I know. I didn't know you could do that. It never even dawned on me. And I have to be. I laughed when you told me that, because I'm like, I've run 30 darn marathons and countless half marathons, 100 half marathons. And I've always followed the rules, and I'm a rule breaker. Why didn't I not think of this? See, I need to hang around women like you to remind me of this kind of stuff. But yeah,
you got to embrace your rebel. Embrace your rebel, Deanna.
Yes, I love that. I love it. And speaking of the rebel, when it comes to the health and fitness, just to wrap on that point, I created Mind Body Fit Club to help a very specific niche group. And it's women that they're typically in business for themselves, or they're in some kind of, corporate setting. And they are women that put a lot of emphasis on that part of their life, but they haven't really taken care of their health. And so there were also women that tend to stress eat. And so I designed a program around emotional eating, and it all comes from my own history. I, was raised in it. My mom raised us that way. She was a total emotional eater, which is, why she ended up passing from obesity. But she trained us to do that. And I was an emotional eater. So I ate all my problems. Anytime I was sad or lonely or celebrating or whatever, I'm eating, that was my go-to. And I just fell in love with food when I was very young. And so I obviously then started to have weight problems. So my metabolism couldn't keep up with the amount of consumption. But then I didn't like to have weight problems. I didn't like the way I felt. I didn't like the way I looked. And so I started going on diets. And so I ended up dieting for about 15 to 20 years in my younger years. All of us grew up in such a diet mindset that any of us that are over 45 really remember all those diet after diet after diet. Now are they just called diets lifestyle? But I really want to, I use, let's be honest, they're still dieting, but I want to get women off of that. I want to actually completely shift emotional eating so people know how to eat, how to maintain their weight, how to just make fitness be like my grandmother, right? Have fitness be part of their lives and have it be part of their identity. Because there's just, you look at the science, and the facts there, the statistics show that the main two things are your food intake, what you're eating, quality healthy foods, and exercise are going to determine your experience in life. And we don't know when any of us are going to die, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a long life, but it does mean that you're going to live each day more optimally. And I feel like every woman that is driving a business needs to also be driving her health. So I have Mind Body Fit Club for that reason.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Deanna. I know so many people can relate to that. It definitely, it's just crazy to me when you think back. And me growing up as well, my stepmom was always on a diet. Just was. And I remember, all these crazy, eat all the carbs you want, but don't eat any fat. And then next week it's eat all the bacon you want, but don't eat it's just insane. It's like you said.
Exactly.
It comes down to calories in and calories out and exercise. Like,
Just
amazing
simplify
how
it.
simple it is. I know, exactly.
I do. And that's what all my clients always say. They go, you always make it so simple. I'm like, yeah, because we need to not overthink this stuff.
Because it is.
You know?
Yes.
And I watched my grandma, like, maintain her weight, and she always ate ice cream, but she ate it in a little tiny, what we now know is like little side dishes for your ketchup. You know, when you go to a restaurant, she used to have those little dishes, and she'd always give herself a scoop of ice cream after dinner. You know, so it's not about deprivation, but just being sensible and, you know, making that a habit, being consistent with it. You know, I think of Jaylene Welch. She's one of my favorite clients, and I love her because she is, I don't want her to be a unicorn. I want her to be the norm because it's so possible. And she just got into my program, and she started at 227 pounds. And not that that really matters, but it just gives listeners kind of an idea of where she started from. And she lost 105 pounds in 13 months without going on a diet.
Yeah.
Just using hypnosis and being consistent. So she listened to my audios every day. She involved herself in the coaching, and she had breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. And through that, she just completely shifted her whole life. She changed everything. She lost 105 pounds. Then she decided, you know what? I've been in an unhappy marriage for this many years, and I'm actually, for the first time, really happy with myself. Why am I with this guy? You know, so she ended up getting a divorce. And then she left the job that she had been in for 16 years, which she was an administrative assistant. But now with all this newfound confidence, she ended up getting a new sales position that paid her twice the amount. And just last week, she's now making triple the amount, because last week I checked in with her, and she had the biggest sales month that they've ever had in history at her company. And she brought in $180,000 in sales just herself. She's a top performer. So total life transition. But, you know, when you focus on one area of improving your greatness, it tends to just completely filter out into the other areas. And so you start to say, okay, these things are not okay with me anymore of how I'm behaving. Like, I could step it up, you know? So I see that with my clients. Yeah, when they do a hypnosis session, they, on one area, they see that it positively affects the other areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it's so fundamental. Health drives, you know, literally everything else in our lives. Well, Deanna, share what you're working on now and what's on the horizon for your business.
Oh, I'm so excited. So I have a book coming out. It's called The Fit Method. And it's hypnotic breakthroughs to help you eat, think, and live in a body that you can hypnotically create. So it is all about being able to just, you know, focus on the inside. I have this FIT process, and it's about focusing inward, using positive psychology, using the power of self-hypnosis, using emotional intelligence to really take a good look at yourself and make those changes more easily and effectively without putting yourself through the pain of, you know, self-doubt and, oh, poor me, but really targeting, focus inward and target what needs to change and what are your strengths that you can leverage. So the book's coming out. I'm excited about that. And then I have, I've really created a new business model so that I can go out and speak, but also continue to help people online. Being that I've traveled all over the world, I have felt it very important to be able to still work with people without them coming into my office, you know? So it's, I've created online programs, and I actually hypnotize people over the phone all the time. I was going to ask that. It's just amazing. It is. And it's actually so comfortable because they're in their own environment. You know, they can be in their office, they close the door and turn the phones off for an hour and kick their feet up, you know, and we just dig in, and it's very private and confidential. We dig into the stuff that is a lot of the things that you're suppressing, you know, you go, oh, I don't have time for that. It starts to come up in the back of your mind, and then you go, I don't have time for that, and you push it back down. Well, I guarantee, your body is taking the brunt of that, because that stress can honestly show up as weight, as heart palpitations, as anxiety. So you don't want to suppress it. You want to let it come out and just move through it faster and easier. And then I would say that it's just the whole process is it's integrating it into your life and having it as, I always teach my clients self-hypnosis, so that this isn't the one time they're going to work with me. I do have clients that work with me for a few months, where we do an ongoing, coaching process because they want to keep implementing this. But I would say that the value of working with me is that I teach people how to continue doing it on their own, because if you think of this, the daydreaming that you're doing in your car, if it's happening anyways, you should leverage that time.
Yeah.
So you need to be giving yourself the right affirmative thoughts that are actually moving you forward to your goals.
Love it, love it, love it. Awesome. Well, Deanna, thank you so much. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, what's the best website to go to, or what's the best channel to track you down?
My name, which they'll probably have to look at your links to see,
I know,
but it's
exactly.
DeannaNunez.com.
Awesome. And that's DEANNA. And then Nunez is NUNEZ.com. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you, Felina, for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.